I said earlier I've never landed business in a music venue, and that's not entirely true. Starting a business is a scary thing. Trust me, in 2017, I quit my job as a staff music producer at Threshold Studios in the heart of New York City. The hardest part was that I love that job. I got to work on really cool projects with major label artists and session musicians I'd only dreamed of being able to work with, so leaving that was a very scary thing. So why do it? Two reasons. I wanted to build something of my own, and I wanted to niche down. I knew that if I focused on only the genres of music I was really good at, I would only ever put out really great music. And by doing so, I would easily build a massive clientele, of course. So with as much money as I could save and the gear that I bought along the way, I opened my own studio. One signature on a year-long lease later, and my financial responsibilities were now drastically different. The immediate goal was to get people in the door. But like I mentioned earlier, my plan was not to just find people to work with, it was to find the right people to work with. People I knew that if I produced their music, it would be so good because it aligns perfectly with my skill sets and musical tastes, that other, similar artists would hear it and want to work with me too. Essentially turning one client into two into 4, 8, and so on. And that's what today's video is about. How do you go from starting out with no clients to having to say no to new clients because you just have too many? I mentioned earlier the idea of niching down. This is something that was taught to me early, but I never took it seriously. If 10 people in different genres want to work with me, but only one of them is in the genre I'm really good at, isn't working with 10 people better than working with just one? Financially and immediately, yes. Long term, no. For example, I don't personally listen to hip hop or rap, but when I started the studio, I did work with a few hip hop and rap artists. They never turned into long-term repeat clients, and the music never went out to bring in new business for me in that genre. The vocals sounded clean, the mixes were good, but there was an element missing because it wasn't a genre I was passionate about. Since I didn't actively listen to that type of music, I was out of the loop on current trends and effects, and basically, the work wasn't special enough that other rap artists would hear it and say, "Where'd you record this? I need to do my next record there." Personally, I'm really good at making pop music, acoustic singer-songwriter, and rock music. Putting those genres together, like using guitars in pop music, is where I really shine. It made my sound unique. Focusing on only the things I'm especially good at is what took my business from one client to more than 50 in under a year. And just for a reference, assuming a 4-hour recording session, 2 clients a day is an 8-hour day. 10 clients total is a full-time job. So how did I do it? Just like working on only music you're good at will land you repeat business, when you go out looking for business, your approach should be based on your strengths as well. I might not seem shy, but I'm alone talking to a camera right now. Put me in a room full of people, or say, a concert venue, and ask me to go talk to a band that just came off stage. I'm gonna clam up and probably not make a good first impression on that band or artist. I've tried this and honestly, it's never worked out successfully for me. They just played a great set, they're all excited, they come off stage, and some socially awkward music producer's trying to pitch his studio. That was never gonna work out for me. I'm not hating on this approach. I know plenty of producers that love going to meet new artists in venues. They keep track of who's playing what venue, they'll go check out new music, and walk away with a new client. The point being, you have to find what works for you. My approach was Instagram. It allowed me to filter by location, viewing new posts in my area. I would scroll until I found someone doing something musical that seemed related to a genre I wanted to work with. So if someone's singing and playing acoustic guitar or piano, perfect. I'd listen to the music and shoot them a message. A thought out, relative to their post, took some effort kind of message. Not a copy paste and spam 100 artists kind of message. People can spot spam and inauthenticity from a mile away. So if you hear an artist on Instagram doing something cool, mention it. Take an extra minute to see if they have a link to more music on Spotify and talk about that. Do whatever you can to personalize the message to that artist so they don't feel like 1 out of 100 people who got a, "Hey, love your music, I just opened a studio, I can make you a star" message. Also, don't tell anyone you can make them a star. Shoot for it, let it happen, be proud when it does, but statistically speaking, that will be an empty promise if you put it in your pitch. I mentioned taking the time to listen to an artist on Spotify or whatever streaming platform they're using. This lets you hear the music they're already putting out, which is extremely valuable information for you. Don't sell yourself short, but if you pull up an artist's music and the recording and production quality are a few years ahead of what you're capable of, you're not gonna wow them into working with you. If they have no presence on streaming platforms at all, now you know a few things. They likely don't have a relationship with another producer or studio, so you're not going to have to convince them how much better their music could be working with you. Maybe they don't know how to get their music on streaming platforms. It's a fairly straightforward and accessible process for independent artists these days, but technology is not everyone's strong point. If that's something you can manage for the artists you work with, you've just added a ton of value to your business. I've helped my artists with album art, photos, music videos, distribution, and even helped get their websites up and running and looking nice. So the more value you add for them beyond the music, the more they're going to keep coming back to make more. So after the Instagram message, I usually suggest we set up an in-person meeting at the studio. I'm proud of my studio, it looks nice and has a lot of impressive gear, and the artist gets to come in and see the space they might potentially make some music in. Adds to the excitement, but you always want to consider your client's safety. In most cases, they have never met you, and going to a new location to meet a new person can be scary, especially if your studio's in your home. So I'd always offer to have them over to the studio to talk there, but I'd let them know that I'm also happy to meet for coffee or somewhere public if it'd make them more comfortable. The meeting is your time to shine. It's where you want to say, here's what I've done, here's what I can do for you, and here's how much it's going to cost. Basically, play them something you've worked on in a similar genre. Get them excited with someone else's music. Listen to something they're working on. Either have them play you something live in the room or show you a demo. Give them some quick, off-the-cuff ideas. Don't give too much away, but if you can show them that your wheels are already spinning, and if they like the direction, that helps assure them you're probably a good fit. And how much it will cost. Now, depending on the area you work in and how far into your own career you are, this is going to vary. You want to find the point where you can afford to stay in business after expenses and taxes, but you don't want to price out the people you want to work with. This could be a whole video in and of itself, but for me, it was about finding the price where people who were working as waiters, waitresses, bartenders, but had amazing voices and wrote great songs could afford my services. Too much, and the talented people I want to work with would be turned away by my price. Not enough, and I wouldn't be able to keep my doors open. So there's a sweet spot for everyone. You just have to find yours. When you land a client, there's always two things we want to happen. We want them to keep coming back, and we want their music to do our marketing for us. Stick to the genres you know best, do great work, and be personable, which is a big one. They expect great music from a studio they're paying for. Being a fun, nice, kind person they want to spend a few hours a week with is a huge part of the equation. After that, be supportive. I said earlier I've never landed business in a music venue, and that's not entirely true. But the only times I have is by meeting bands who are friends with the bands I'm already working with. When an artist you work with is performing, go out and support them. They're usually never the only band or artist playing that night, and if they introduce you to their friends and other artists, you've got an in. You have authority in the industry because a band they know is already working with you. And you're a really cool producer and probably a really cool person in general because you come out and support the people you're working with when they're performing. All right, I think that's it. Get out there, meet people, make great music, do it again and again and again. Have fun doing something you love.